Thank you, Anne. And if you could keep those verses open, it would be a great help to you and to me. And in a moment, Carolyn Palmer is going to come and talk to us about the work of the Message Trust. And when I was explaining to my children what had happened, they said, "Oh, what are you going to do, Daddy?" And I said, "Well, Carolyn Palmer and I are going to cover the talk on Sunday." And one of them went, "Oh, little and large." When you'll come up, you'll see why they said that. But I can assure you that Carolyn Palmer is a pocket rocket and is always worth listening to. So, as I said, we were going to have Julia Adcock from the Guildford Salvation Army come, and sadly she's not able to be here, so we will rearrange her visit for later on in the year. But we have a number of mission partners here at St Mary's. There are 5 in all. We obviously have the Salvation Army, and that's just the Guildford branch. We don't support them nationally. We wanted to do something locally. And we also work locally with an organisation called Beatitude, who are based in Leatherhead. The Message Trust are based in Manchester. And then we also have the Kampala Children's Centre in Uganda and Inherit Your Rights, which is a ministry based in Tanzania. And so we have 2 local mission partners, we have 1 national mission partner, and we have 2 international mission partners. And we choose to partner with them because they are gospel-focused. They are seeking to proclaim the good news of Jesus, of doing it in action as well as word, seeking to bring the good news to people's lives in tangible ways that are helping people where they are at. Now, in Luke chapter 4, you see Jesus teaching in the synagogue in Nazareth, and he unrolls the scroll of Isaiah, and he reads from chapter 61. And this was read at my installation 9 years ago. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He sent me to proclaim freedom for prisoners and recovery of sight of the blind, to set the oppressed free and proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." And Jesus then sits down and says to those listening, "Today, this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." And this is often called Jesus' manifesto. And it highlights the importance of proclaiming the good news to the poor. In bringing the gospel of Jesus to people, we're not just proclaiming words, but we are called to demonstrate the love of God in action. Now, if you see in chapter 25 of Matthew's Gospel, the reading that we had, this is the tipping point of coming to the sort of culmination of Jesus' teaching ministry. Everything now goes very quickly in the next 48 hours before Jesus' death is reached. So he's speaking to his disciples. They're about to have the Last Supper. You know, the plot to arrest Jesus and kill Jesus is starting. Judas is about to betray him. They have their Last Supper together. Jesus is arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's put before Pilate. It all kind of trips from here. And so these are the last few hours that Jesus has with his disciples. And when you're in the last few hours of your life, you speak to people about the things that really matter. You want to convey the things that you want the people to remember once you've died. You know, there isn't just idle chit-chat. You tell people the important stuff. And some of that, what Jesus wanted his disciples and every generation of Christians to know, is the importance Jesus places on caring for the poor. Jesus has no sort of favorite in his world, but if he did, he would strongly lean towards the poor, the voiceless, the disadvantaged, the hungry, those who are forgotten by society or downtrodden. trodden. We might ask ourselves, if Jesus had to raise money, would he cut money to the poor? You see how countercultural, how the leaders of this world operate, and how Jesus operates. His priority is the poor, the vulnerable, not the powerful who wish to cut deals. And he says to the disciples, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me a drink. When I was naked, you gave me clothes to wear. And they said, obviously they understand in verse 37, they're saying, when did we do that? Or when will we do that? And he says, well, when you are doing this, you did it for me. For the least of these brothers and sisters, you cared for me. When you gave food, you were doing that for me and to me. When you gave drink, when you gave someone a drink, you're doing that to me and for me. And so it really changes how we view, twice a year. So we do a harvest collection, and we do the reverse Advent. And sometimes we might just think, well, that's just a nice middle-class thing to do to help out. Well, yes. But also we're doing it for and to Jesus. When we give clothes to the poor, you're clothing Jesus. When you stop on Guildford High Street and chat to a homeless person and give them a hot drink, you're doing it to Jesus. When you talk to a lonely person who's been ignored all day, taking time to listen, then you're taking time to speak with Jesus. Now, it's not obvious to us in the moment when that happens. There have been times when I might have talked to a homeless person and I'm not thinking, I'm doing this for Jesus, or I'm talking to Jesus here. Only retrospectively do you think, there was something holy about that moment. But that is Jesus' command. We have a special affection for the poor. And in Proverbs 22, verse 9, it says, the generous themselves will be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. There is always a blessing when we are generous. It's always a blessing. And as you can see on the last day when we stand before King Jesus, and this whole passage is a reminder that there will be a time when we will come before God. Everybody will come before God and give an account of their lives. And he will ask us questions. Those who have followed him and obeyed his commands will receive the inheritance due them from the beginning of time. From before the world was created, we've talked before about the fact that he willed and chose those who have come to trust him. There is an inheritance that will come our way too. So it's an important thing for us to be focused on. And maybe even more so as a parish who generally is very prosperous. God has prospered us for a reason. And the reason is not so that we can have fancy houses and nice cars. Good though they are, nothing wrong with that. There genuinely isn't wrong with that. And many of us do have. I live in a fancy house. Drive a nice car in terms of global terms. But we're called to use some of that money for the poor, for the downtrodden. And that's why when we can do that in this parish, we've blessed families at the local schools who couldn't send their children on activity holidays. St. Mary's has helped them out. But also we partner with organizations who are chosen because they, as I said, they proclaim the good news of Jesus. They're caring for the poor. They're feeding and clothing them, providing for their needs, educating children who wouldn't have the chance to be educated, giving hope and a future. And so I want to invite Carolyn now to come and share with us a little bit more about the work of one of those mission partners, that is the Message Trust. So do come up.
I'll stand next to you as the little
And there
one.
you can see, now you can see what my children
There we
are all
are.
about. But I'm really grateful to Carolyn because I called her on Friday and said, how do you fancy speaking in church? And you said, sure, I'll give that a go. So I'm very grateful. So I'm going to hand over to you to tell us about the mission of the Message Trust.
Okay. I'd better move this or you won't see me. Right, well, it was actually Thursday I found out, and Thursday night I was writing all this stuff down, and I thought, oh, this is going to be so boring. And I went to bed quite stressed, thinking, what am I going to say? And then I remembered, please, God, help me, and immediately it came to me what I was going to do. So I think there's another slide coming up on the screen. Yep, there we are. I'm going to base my talk on these various areas here, starting at the top there, creative mission. I want us to imagine that we're in a class in the playground with year 4 pupils in a primary school, and it's PHSE just after lunch. And one of the girls says, we're going to have about God today. And everybody said, oh dear, you know. It was litter picking last week, it was looking for nits in our hair the week before, and now it's God. And God, well, all we know about God is it's a bit boring, you have to be a goody-goody. Anyway, they all went into the hall, and they were amazed, because there in front of them was a band, there were drums, there were guitars, there was a singer, the keyboard, and they had a wonderful time. And this singer, she sang, and they all joined in. They thought, this is wonderful. And this was not at all like they thought God was about. And they heard about somebody called Jesus as well. And then this person singing said, you can all come, you know, you can all do more of this. You can all come and join us. Come to church next Sunday. And, you know, several of them thought, we will. We want to find out more about this. This sounds like good fun. It doesn't sound boring at all. We need to go and find out about it. So that's the first one. And now we're going to visit a family in an undeprived area, in a deprived area, outside a large town. They live in this house. There's a mother and father and 3 children. Neither of the parents can work for various, not because they don't want to, they just can't, which is very sad. And they've got 3 children, and they're good parents. They want the best for their children. But it's very hard. They live on benefits, and they don't have much money. Anyway, one day, and the family moved in next door, and they seemed a very nice family. They didn't have much to do with them. But the mother got talking to this couple, and this couple said, well, you know, there is a community shop down the road. It's walking distance for you. And the mother said, I don't want charity. Oh, it's not charity. You enroll, and you just pay £5 every time you go, and then you can buy up to 6 items, and they're worth much more than £5. And you can get much better produce. So the mother went, and it was true. There she was. She could do just that. And she was able to give her family much more nutritious food and even small treats for the children. So they were living a much better life. Anyway, she got talking to the lady of this couple that lived next door, who said they'd actually been moved in there to help people in the community. And she explained that something called the Message Trust had asked them if they would go and join this community so that they could help other people. And they were a bit wary about it, but the Message Trust helped them all the way. And they really had settled in this area. And everybody liked them, and they really enjoyed helping people and encouraging them to come and find out about God. And so many of them were doing. So this mother thought, I need to go and find out about God too. So she went to church the next Sunday. And she was so overcome with excitement, she gave herself to Jesus there and then. And she went home and talked about it to her husband, and they both went, and he did too. Within 6 months, the whole family were going all the time. The Message Trust did that as well. Now we go on to the bottom to, where are we? I can't even see it there. Oh yes, prisons. We're now in a prison. And we're looking at talking to a man who's got a 10-year sentence. He's only done 3 years, long way to go, and he's very disillusioned and demotivated. He really cannot be doing with it. And he was talking to another prisoner who said, well, actually, about once a week, he had a meeting. He went and spoke to somebody who was really very interesting and explained that there was hope, actually. There really was hope in life. Anyway, this prisoner thought, well, I might as well go and try. There's nothing else for me to do. It's really awful in here. And he started to enjoy meeting this man. And this man said, you know, if you think about God and Jesus, there really is hope, even for you. Why don't you come along to some of the services we hold in prison? That's what he did. He went along to the services, and he really enjoyed it. And he thought, there is hope. But there's not much hope, because when I do come out of here, I'll just go back to my old ways. It won't be any good. So he thought, no, no, no. So he mentioned this to the person that he kept meeting, and who said, no, that's not the case. We help. We help afterwards as well. We will look after you. We'll help you find somewhere to live. We'll help you find a job. We'll help you with your relationships, with your family, with friends. If you've got financial problems, we'll help with that. We'll help with all these things. Well, this was the turning point for this prisoner. He kept going to church while he was in church. When he came out, they kept to their word. They really did help. And now, years on, this man has got a stable life. He's very happy. And the Message Trust did this to help him. So that is a few of the things that the Message Trust do. Lorna Zizka is producing another edition of the Mission News, and there's something else that the Mission Trust does in there. But hot off the press is a proposed visit to the Mission Trust in Manchester. We're planning it for the 19th to the 21st of July, and it gives us a chance to really see them in action. And believe me, I've been up 3 or 4 times now, and it really is worth it to see their enthusiasm and their love of God. It's going to be car share. We'll be staying in Premier Inns and travel lodges, and the programme will be worked out according to who goes. It doesn't, all ages are welcome. So do seriously think about this. Anybody who thinks it might be too expensive, then the church will be able to help. My number's on there, so if you want any more details, you'll have to contact me. But really, it really is a good thing to do, because the enthusiasm there, it's just wonderful. It's so inspiring. So thank you very much.